Hello there. My name is Dylan Finn. I'm with my partner Alon here, and we are here to give our third update on our product iPlant. So a quick project description of our project. It's a battery-powered probe created to monitor outside variables important to a plant's health. So you kind of stick it in the ground. It's typically meant for home plants. You stick it in the pot next to your home plant, and it will measure temperature, humidity, soil moisture, and light intensity, and then display that in a database that you can look at, and it'll send values to it every hour. And we would also like to have a database of common plants that have their ideal values of temperature, humidity, soil moisture, et cetera, that you compare your values to make your plant in the best possible environment to grow.
Yeah, so here we're going to give a little bit of summary about the third milestone. So we got the project to work end to end, meaning from measuring data from the sensors and displaying it in real time to clients on a web page. So maybe like trying to break down that. So the first aspect was to read the data from our three sensors, meaning the light intensity sensor, the humidity sensor, and soil moisture sensor. And then we sent that data to a server using HTTP request. And after the data was received by the server, we saved it in a database. And then we used WebSocket to update a web page that sort of gives a summary of the most recent sensor readings to clients. And we also made some design choices in terms of how we are going to power our device. And we looked into AAA batteries. And now we're going to talk more about what we're gonna do in the next milestone.
Yeah, so we're currently working towards milestone 4. So we moved our prototype to a breakout board as recommended by Professor Mickelson to accurately measure the power taken by the sensors and by the chip, both in active mode and hibernation mode. And as you can see, the measurements that we got are pretty astounding. It's 10,000 times less power being taken by the chip in hibernation mode. So we think that that's really going to help our product last a very long time and maybe make it more commercially viable. We still need to measure the power when it's connecting to the Wi-Fi and sending the data from the chip to the server. And we're expecting that to be pretty high, but as with the with sensor measurements power reading, we're not expecting that to take very long. Most of the time, our project will be in hibernation mode, which has an extremely low power consumption. We configure the ESP32 in 3 different power consumption modes: active, hibernation, and deep sleep, and then used timer wake ups at different intervals. So we can put the ESP into hibernation mode, so it takes a lot less power, and then wake it up after a certain amount of time that we can specify through code. And then this coming week, we have a few goals. We'd like to configure a prototype with hopefully AAA batteries and the appropriate connectors, and then improve our website design, because right now it's just kind of a database that updates. It's just a database that updates in real time, just black and white. And then also research 3D printing and PCB design, because neither of us have really any experience with either of those.
So talking about what we've learned in the past few weeks, we learned about WebSocket, which is a nice way to sort of update data on some web pages, because the challenge with HTTP requests is it's a one-way. It's like a protocol to send data in one way, but then with WebSocket, you sort of have, let's say, a server, and then a lot of clients who could be connected to the server. And then there's like just one communication channel, and then you can send data on that channel, on that communication channel. And once, let's say, data is sent on that communication channel, it's like all the clients who are connected to it can sort of receive the data and do something useful with it. So using WebSocket, we were able to update a web page that displays the data from our sensors in real time. And we've tried it with like let's say, I think we tried with two devices. It's like a computer and then an iPad, and then the data was actually updating on both of them.
And then the other thing that we learned about was ESP32 sleep and hibernation modes, which are very useful for products like ours, which really only have to be working a fraction of the time of the day. And I would definitely recommend, if your project doesn't have to be, if it's not just like plug it in and work, if it's constantly being powered by a battery, something like this, I would definitely recommend looking into ESP32 sleep and hibernation modes, because there's a ton of them, and you can probably find one that's lower than the power consumption that you're currently using, than the active power consumption, which can be really high at times. So definitely makes your product last a lot longer using these modes. And then we had another interview. I interviewed my dad for this one, and he said that something that we should definitely think about is, if we're going to use a battery like a lithium-ion rechargeable battery, it's going to increase the cost of our product exponentially, and probably the majority of the cost of the product is just going to be the battery. So we can take, because our product will last so long on not a lot of energy anyway, we can use things like AAA batteries, which we can just put a few of them in series to get to the voltage that we need to power the ESP, and they're easily accessible to everyone. And then the important part is that we don't have to include the battery in our cost. We can just sell the product without batteries, and then people can put their own batteries in, and it drops the cost of it exponentially. And AAA batteries will last a very, very long time with our product anyway, because it's only going to be taking 4.2 microamps for the majority of the day.
Yeah, so now we also have a few questions. So the first one, we want to build a case for the device, but then we don't have a lot of experience with 3D printing. So we want to know what are some good resources on 3D printing. And also we are considering doing some more work with PCBs, and we would want to know what's the good way to get started.
Thank you very much for watching.